but it certainly is one of the most important elections I've ever seen in my lifetime. And I'm sure many of the people that are on the ground would agree with you. Brian, we figured it would come up, and it did with some of those speeches. They focused on energy. They focused on fuel, and they should, because much of Pennsylvania has relied on that. That has been a huge income source that Joe took away.
You know, Miranda, I remember during the debates, he would look at the cameras and he'd say, hey, if you live in Pennsylvania, if you live in Texas, Joe Biden's coming for your energy jobs. You guys are your jobs will go away. He warned the American people this is going to happen. That's why when you look at the election, I just don't understand who would actually vote for Joe Biden, knowing that he's going to cause an energy crisis. And I don't understand what goes through your brain. You're like, oh, I was paying $1.87 when President Trump was in office. Now I'm going to pay $4.97. Yeah, let me sign up for that. I don't know who votes for that, but that's the insanity of the Democrat Party.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, too, we were talking about that. I think it's that they're so in their bubble, Jeff. The mainstream media, social media. I mean, we saw what happened to so many people, conservative voices. I mean, they just shut you down. Look at Steve Bannon. He's in prison. Look at Peter Navarro. If you were on social media, that was real election interference. If you said anything, misinformation. Why? Because we deemed it so. I think that's why. And they're still used to living in that world, and they consider us to be conspiracy theorists. But we're just trying to get the truth out there.
And they're not used to hearing the truth, Miranda, because they're in that bubble, as you say, and they're getting misinformation all the time. And our voices are being censored constantly on the mainstream news media. So they're hearing about how horrible Donald Trump is, how racist he is, sexist he is. And of course, all of those are lies. And they're fearing another Trump administration. You can hear these Democrats so worried about it. I'd like to ask them this. What is so dangerous about peace and prosperity? I mean, how about a secure border, energy independent? Why are you afraid of what Donald Trump delivered in the first term, delivering more of it in the second term? I don't understand it. But they get in that bubble and they get all fired up, and they believe that Trump is a horrible person, and they just get it through their heads. They've got to stop him. And they're going to support a guy who's mentally incompetent and should not be president right now, Miranda. It is too dangerous for a man who's mentally incompetent to be president, yet he's our president.
Yeah, I really hope that, the scales have been removed from people's eyes and that they do see the truth, and that more and more people are, especially after that disastrous debate. And I hope that they realize that this isn't just like, aha, this just happened all of a sudden. It's been going on for a while, and people knew it. That's why they insulated Joe Biden. They knew it. Pray again. As Steve Bannon would say, pray for your enemies. Pray for your enemies. We definitely need to do that. We're going to continue our live coverage again of President Trump's rally taking place in Pennsylvania. I've got Brian Glenn on the ground. You don't want to miss 1 minute of it, because this is the last big rally before the Republican National Convention, where he will officially be named the Republican nominee for president. In the meantime, we have to thank our sponsors. We could not do this without them. Total Wellness Company. Yeah, I always want to say Total, but that's just because they're everything. The Wellness Company. They have got you covered. Totally. Their new Contagion kit. It's exactly what you need to have on hand to keep you and your family safe from the bird flu, COVID, whatever these globalists throw at us next. Literally, they have ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, you name it, Tamiflu. Don't buy what the mainstream media is trying to sell you, the CDC. These people actually want to keep you healthy. And you're going to have this kit on hand. You'll be rest assured knowing that it's there when you need it. And it also gives you this guidebook, so you know the safe use of all these medications. To get yours, just go to twc.health/voice and order yours today. Again, go to twc.health/voice And because we do like to save you money, guess what? You can use our promo code VOICE. See it right there? And you're going to save yourself 10%. All right. Don't go anywhere because, again, President Trump set to take the stage really soon from now. And we're going to continue our live team coverage again from Butler, Pennsylvania, with national campaign correspondent Brian Glenn, who has been braving the heat out there, as well as all those brave patriots. When we return, we'll be right back.
Throughout history, the spirit of patriotism has prevailed. The battles may have changed, but the values remain the same. Today, in 2024, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. For more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service. It's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream. Because this year is not just any year, it's the most important year since our nation's founding. Choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Have you noticed the ever-alarming 400,000 cell towers that have gone up in the United States alone? How about the electronics that reside in every room of our homes and Wi-Fi that runs 24/7? 5G cell phones are carried in our pockets hours on end. Common complaints are ringing in the ear: sleep deprivation, palpitations, headaches, memory loss, and so much more. Redemption Shield is on the cutting edge of offering products that protect your family from electromagnetic and microwave radiation. From Faraday bags, earthing bed sheets, Wi-Fi router covers, hats, scarves, bed sanctuaries. This will not be going away anytime soon. We will continue to see only faster speeds, 6G, 7G, and more exposure to EMF than any time in our history. Start protecting yourself now. Go to redemptionshield.com and get grounded and shielded today. Use code RAV and save 10%.
Good afternoon, all you beautiful patriots out there. Hope you're enjoying your Saturday. I know we are, and we're continuing to bring you live team coverage of President Trump's rally taking place in Butler, Pennsylvania. Joining us live on the ground from there is Brian Glenn. Also joining us, Jeff Guerrero, host of Ringside Politics, which you can catch on Saturdays here on Real America's Voice. And I'm sorry, Brian, I still feel bad because we understand that sweltering heat that you're dealing with. But at least you get to enjoy the music and the crowd. And it's a massive crowd. Again, for those of you just tuning in, Brian, as you know, has been to quite a few of these rallies. And he says this is probably the biggest pre-rally gathering that he has seen. And I think that's saying a lot, but probably because of the RNC is set to go Monday. Before we get into more of that RNC and the rally, we've been talking a lot about good old Joe. And let's not forget that there was the 75th anniversary of NATO that took place in D.C. Brian was out there as well. And, well, there were a few gaffes from there, including one massive one that is still making headlines. Remember this?
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. He's going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President.
I'm better.
Yeah, that was pretty painful, embarrassing, and not the best look for security. But you know what? He tried to make a joke of it. And you could possibly say that, look, you know, any of us that do this for a living, we misspeak all the time. It just happens, right? But he also did this, Brian and Jeff. Remember, he also did this with Macron when he meant to say Macron, but instead he said a French president that had died several years prior. He did the same thing when it came to Angela Merkel, the chancellor of Germany, also mistaken her with somebody else who had passed away. So the man has a track record of doing this, Jeff. I mean, it's not like, they try to act like, we don't know, this just happened. No, it didn't just happen.
Miranda, my favorite one was when he mistaken his wife for his sister. So he's been doing this for years. And remember at the press conference, he also mistaken his vice president for President Trump. I mean, it is just a continual thing. I mean, the man, unfortunately, is going to be doing this for the rest of the campaign. And if he's elected again for who knows how much longer, and it's beyond embarrassing, and it's really concerning because he is being put out there as a candidate, and he should not be. I really do think this is a case of elder abuse, Amanda. I don't think his family should be allowing this to continue. This man should be in some kind of a treatment facility. He should be getting rest and treatment. It's ridiculous that he is the president of the United States campaigning for president again in this condition. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. You know what's interesting, though, Brian? So, we've all been saying this, and those of you watching have been saying this for some time. Like, we didn't just figure out, like, he's old and feeble now. We've known that he wasn't fit for office. He has a track record of lying. He doesn't remember things. He is not a strong leader. He is not a commander in chief. But let me ask you this, because this is when it gets kind of complicated. So, Jeff, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but are you saying that he should be removed from office now? Because whether we like it or not, the election is still November. I mean, do you feel safe going to bed at night knowing that he's supposedly commander in chief, or do you feel like it doesn't matter who they put in there, that it's Obama 3.0 no matter what?
I really don't think he's competent to be president. I mean, I've been calling for the 25th Amendment for years. I mean, I think they should have called for it the day after he was inaugurated. I mean, it's ridiculous to think that he is our president. So the 25th Amendment exists for removing someone in Biden's condition. Chip Roy has called for it. Congressman Ronnie Jackson, who's a former White House physician, has called for it. I know Mike Johnson, in a speech the other day, the speaker called for it. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's something that should be utilized. I really do.
So let me ask you, Brian, I'm just curious if there have been, a lot of people there talking about the debate, obviously that presser, you heard Jeff bring up the 25th Amendment. Dems are wanting him removed, but they've just shy of actually bringing up the 25th Amendment. So, and then trying to get him off the ticket. There's complications with the date, How does this work, and what are people there telling you on the ground?
Well, they just want Trump supporters to get out and vote on November 5th. That's the easiest way to take him out of office, is just to vote him out of office. I want to go back to his slip-ups, calling Putin and then coming back and saying, that we get it. Sometimes we do misspeak. But what he said afterwards was the most disturbing thing, I think, in the whole episode. I hope you understand this. He says, I'm so focused on beating Putin. And let me tell you something. I talked to thousands of Trump supporters. Let me tell you something. Beating Putin is not even in the top 10 of the things that's concerning Americans. It's only big to Joe Biden and the military-industrial complex and the whole Democratic Party. So by him saying that he's so focused on beating Putin, that means he's so disconnected to what really matters to Americans. And it's like putting groceries on the freaking table. It's putting gas in your car. It's feeling safe at night in your homes. It's that your kid can walk to school and not get gunned down by a bunch of ruthless gangbangers in the inner city. That's what's important for the American family, not beating Putin. And of course, if you step out and you say, look, I want to end this conveyor belt of money to Ukraine, I'm instantly called some kind of Putin puppet. I'm instantly, just because you want to end a war doesn't mean you're picking a side with Putin. I want peace. around the world. I don't want another single bullet to drop anywhere in the world. That's common sense. That's being a human being. So I think we should focus on peace in the Middle East, peace in Ukraine, not how much more bullets we can send Ukrainian military. That's being out of touch with the American people.
And the money, Jeff. I mean, these are just blank checks. We already know some of it isn't accounted for. Let's be honest. Ukraine has had a reputation for quite some time of being corrupt. I mean, this isn't new. And there's no like, okay, we'll give you this much because this is what's at stake for us, but you need to be held accountable. We're just writing them left and right. Right, Jeff?
You know, Miranda, there's no accountability. We know that millions and millions have gone into the pockets of bureaucrats and generals. You know, there was a video I saw of Monte Carlo, and this is the French Riviera, and they had all these sports cars that were driving around, and you would not believe the number of them that had Ukrainian license plates. So we are enriching who knows how many Ukrainians, and they're not in Ukraine, they're in Monte Carlo. So they're getting villas, they're getting resorts, they're fleecing the American taxpayer. And as Brian said, the American taxpayer doesn't want to be spending billions in Ukraine. We want our economy fixed. We want our border fixed. We want peace in the Middle East and peace in Ukraine. And Donald Trump was the guy who delivered it. Donald Trump was the guy who dealt with Putin. And you know, Miranda, Putin did not invade one country while Donald Trump was president. We had peace through strength. And that's what we really think we need to get back to.
Yeah, people need to focus on the record. You know, as we heard one of the speakers say there in Butler, Pennsylvania, you may not like him. Look at the record. Look at the facts. Just go to that line where you're better off 4 years ago than you are today. And if you're being honest with yourself, the answer has to be yes. Right, Brian?
No, it's just common sense. I mean, all of this is such common sense. It's unbelievable to me. And maybe some of the moderate Democrats and maybe independents are seeing it now for the first time as everything's getting really worse. And maybe they'll make the difference in it all. We can only hope that more people are watching broadcasts like we have right now, hearing this perhaps from Miranda for the first time. Right? I mean, maybe this is the first time that somebody watching that's just now tuning in has heard this. I'm hoping that's the case because that's our job here is to really relay the information to the people from the Trump administration and just give lights on what's happening around this country. We want to be the mouthpiece of America. That's why we're called Real America's Voice. Simple.
Couldn't say it better. That's right. No, while Biden's trying to abandon the voice of people, we're trying to amplify it.
That's exactly right. Yeah. All right. I think we're about to go to break, and we're not. All right. Before we go to break, I do want to talk about another great patriot. And this is a company that has really stepped up and made sure that broadcasts like this can continue. And I'm talking about freetrumpknife.com. The website says it all. If you're a Trump enthusiast, if you collect things like knives or tumblers, hats, t-shirts, bumper stickers, yard signs, why not pick up a knife? This Trump knife, the information for that is on your screen. Now, it's absolutely free. Now, you do have to pay a $10 shipping and handling fee, but that's a very nominal price to pay to get this great collectible Trump knife. Now, supplies are limited, so if you don't jump on it now, by the time we end this broadcast somewhere on the other side of midnight, probably, they might be gone. So please go to freetrumpknife.com. That's freetrumpknife.com. Get your knife today. It's a one of a kind. Until then, we're live in Butler, Pennsylvania. President Trump's scheduled to take the stage at 5 p.m. We'll keep you updated on that, but don't you go anywhere. We've got complete coverage on the ground here, right here on Real America's Voice.
Throughout history, the spirit of patriotism has prevailed. The battles may have changed, but the values remain the same. Today, in 2024, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. For more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service. It's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream. Because this year is not just any year, it's the most important year since our nation's founding. Choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Have you noticed the ever-alarming 400,000 cell towers that have gone up in the United States alone? How about the electronics that reside in every room of our homes and Wi-Fi that runs 24/7? 5G cell phones are carried in our pockets hours on end. Common complaints are ringing in the ear: sleep deprivation, palpitations, headaches, memory loss, and so much more. Redemption Shield is on the cutting edge of offering products that protect your family from electromagnetic and microwave radiation. From Faraday bags, earthing bed sheets, Wi-Fi router covers, hats, scarves, bed sanctuaries. This will not be going away anytime soon. We will continue to see only faster speeds, 6G, 7G, and more exposure to EMF than any time in our history. Start protecting yourself now. Go to redemptionshield.com and get grounded and shielded today. Use code RAB and save 10%.
Good afternoon, beautiful patriots. I'm Miranda Kahn. Welcome back to Real America's Voice and our live team coverage of President Trump's massive rally going on right now in Butler, Pennsylvania. I want to welcome back in Brian Glenn, who is on the ground there in Butler, braving the very hot conditions, and as well as Jeff Crouere, who's in the AC like me, but in still hot Louisiana. He is, of course, the host of Ringside Politics. Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, President Trump, we heard, was a little bit delayed out there. We've heard some speeches so far from a representative as well as a Trump-endorsed Senate candidate who's looking to unseat Senator Casey. You know, I think it's interesting, you know, someone who went to school as a journalist. I took such pride in doing that, wanting to be the voice of the people. And boy, have things changed in a relatively short amount of time. The mainstream media really has been the left hand of the Democratic Party. But you know, things are bad when they're turning on Joe and saying, look, we can't have this, including CNN, right, who actually hosted that debate. So CNN is reporting now that Obama and Pelosi, you know, Nancy Pelosi, are discussing ways to drop Biden. Take a look.
We are learning tonight that throughout the course of this week, as we've seen the public words from former Speaker Nancy Pelosi, we're learning that she has had a private conversation earlier this week with former President Barack Obama. They have talked about this matter. We do not know exactly the contents of that private conversation, but we do know, talking to a variety of Democrats in a news story just posted moments ago, Isaac DeVera and I talked to many Democrats who are looking to Pelosi and Obama to sort of find a way out of this infighting and crisis that has dominated the Democratic Party. Now, they have intentionally given the president his space and his time on this, but we have seen Speaker Pelosi's very carefully calibrated words. But the new information we are learning that she has had a conversation, perhaps more than one of them, with Barack Obama. Of course, this is very fraught for former President Barack Obama.
Yes, Nancy Pelosi, whose stock portfolios continue to climb through all of this while we're all suffering, talks with Obama about that. Obama, who's been running the show all along, and probably said, Nancy, they figured us out. We've got to do something else. Who's going to be now the face? But just real quickly, before we get into all of that, which, Jeff, you're right. I'm sorry. That was another crisis that Joe created. Division within the Democratic Party. Did we think it could actually happen? But before we get to that, Brian, just have to get your reaction to the mainstream media reporting just any criticism, even if it's just the slightest, towards Joe. I think he's probably checking his IFB. So, Jeff, I'll go to you first. Your reaction to that.
Miranda, it is unprecedented because the media always covers for the Democrats and promotes the Democrats. You've been watching this for years, so you see how President Trump had to deal with the press in a news conference. Very antagonistic, very much aggressive. And then Joe Biden, he'd get softball questions. And even the other night in the supposed big boy news conference that he had,
right.
The press asked him very easy questions. They didn't ask him, well,
ahead of time.
Exactly. They didn't say, well, President Biden, do you have Parkinson's? President Biden, are you suffering from dementia? Some really direct questions that would put him on the spot. I mean, they didn't ask that. So they were very deferential, even on Thursday. It's been that way from the beginning. But now I think CNN and a few others are freaking out, New York Times, Washington Post, because they think he can't win and they're trying to get rid of him. But he has all the delegates, Miranda. Unless he decides to turn over the delegates, I don't see how they're going to be able to do this. There's no mechanism at the convention for there to be someone other than Biden unless he releases those delegates.
Well, I do have to say the questions have improved. At least we're not hearing. And by the way, before we let you go, again, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream? Because, right? It's like, how sleepy are you? Because we know this is almost close to your bedtime. It was a little better, but you're right. It definitely wasn't. It wasn't tough. And I think that's really why they're doing this. I think everybody saw that. And they're in full on panic mode. And they should have been in panic mode months ago, because it's not like all of a sudden his poll numbers were slipping. They've been slipping, and it's because of the same disastrous policies, if you want to call it that they've been implementing. This isn't Biden. And that's the only thing is, I agree, that this is probably not going to change, no matter who you put in there. I mean, what are your thoughts? Do you think it's going to change, whether it's Joe or let's say it's Kamala Harris or Gavin Newsom, whoever?
The policies won't change, Miranda, because it's the same policies that they'll be behind. What's going to be different is there'll be more energy. You'll have a candidate that can maybe connect with more people. If you had a Gavin Newsom in there, he could maybe have more appeal. Because he can put a sentence together. He's glib. He's sort of telegenic. Everything that Joe Biden is not. But the policies, you're right, are exactly the same. There's no more, moderate Democrat. Look at Joe Manchin. He had to get out of the party. Kristen Sinema, she's out of the party. So the liberals, the progressives, the socialists really control the Democrat Party now.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. But you are seeing people that are leaving the Democratic Party as a result. I mean, Trump was called all these things, right? He accomplished, and I think that was really a stunning moment for me when you mentioned the Abraham Accords. Numerous presidents had tried to accomplish, and they could not even come close to what he was able to do. And then they try to call him anti-Semitic. And what do we see happening at our college campuses that we never would have dreamt of? Can you imagine, Jeff, if this was happening under Trump's administration?
It would have never happened, Miranda. He did engineer those Abraham Accords. He moved the embassy to Jerusalem, things that had never been done before. Here's what should have happened. He should have won a Nobel Peace Prize because what he did was historic. That's why they have Nobel Peace Prizes, to recognize people that bring about peace. And what he did was amazing. Of course, he didn't win one. Barack Obama won one like 5 minutes after he became president for doing nothing. Yet
Absolutely
President Trump
nothing.
Right. But he won a Nobel Peace Prize.
It was
And Donald
embarrassing.
Trump- Yes,
I think the
it
honor,
was.
the dignity that just dissipated quickly after that happened. For people who may not recall, this was just his idea of life, right? He hadn't accomplished anything. It was just like I imagined it. I thought this up. Okay, here you go. Anyway, sorry to interrupt, but you're so right on that.
And it just goes to show you the bias that they have toward President Trump for his accomplishments. He never got recognized like he should have. The media was always opposed to everything he was doing. So the fact that he had to overcome all of that, overcome the deep state, and accomplish what he did was amazing. That's why I think in a second term, I mean, the sky is the limit as to what he could really do, because he's got all this knowledge. He knows how to do it. And I think he's going to be bringing on people that are more supportive of his agenda for the second term. And I think that's going to make him even more successful.
Yeah, and I think it's important because that's why he's put so much focus when it comes to some of those key races that we were talking about earlier with the Senate and the House of Representatives. I want to welcome back in Brian Glenn, who can hopefully hear us again live on the ground in Butler, Pennsylvania. We were talking about it early, and Trump has been saying that that's been his message. Like, I am of the people, for the people, with the people. We need to do this together. He's making this not about himself, but about everybody, but saying he's not enough. That's why they had to switch out the RNC. That's why we need more people running, more MAGA candidates, because it takes all of us, doesn't it, Brian?
It does. And that's, I think, one of the greatest things why people love President Trump so much. They feel like he speaks for them. He represents the little guy. He represents the laborer. He represents the single mother. He represents the family. He represents the struggling entrepreneur. He represents every American and every ethnicity, two genders. He represents everybody. And I think his message is crystal clear on that. I will say this. I want to get down and get some water. I know that they've been suggesting in the chat that I stay hydrated, and I certainly appreciate everyone talking about, making sure I get through this. So I have been drinking water. Thank you so much for your concern, the Rav family and all the people that are in the chat. So I certainly appreciate it, because if I did pass out, by the way, I would probably fall about 6 feet behind me and maybe take out the first, row in the bike racks there. It would make for great television. I'm sure we'd get some viral clips on it.
No.
I'm willing to do anything for some views here. Yeah. Hey, real quickly.
I think he needs to get hydrated right now.
I've had plenty. Thanks to the Trump team, and of course we had some water here with Real America's Voice. So thanks to the Trump team and us, I've got water, I've got Gatorade, I'm doing good. Little sunscreen, might want to bring that extra next time. But I talked to one official that works the grounds here, and the break during the speakers. I was back in the back, and I said, "This is an amazing crowd." I said, "Because this is where they have the Butler farm. This is where they kind of have the agricultural meetings and fairgrounds and rodeos." I go, "What would you say an estimate of people based upon your years of experience of how many people is gathered in this space and likely still coming in?" He said it's got to be in the excess of 25 to 30,000 on his best estimates. And this is someone who's on the ground here, who's seen events just like this. Now, this is very similar to the estimations that we got in New Jersey as well, because if you get a space that is used to having people in here for events, they're used to gauging crowd sizes. They're used to seeing how many people can fit in this particular area. They're used to seeing the number of people going through security or going through a ticket counter. So I would safe to say it might be on the conservative end, because I'm sure nobody wants to say, oh yes, it's 100,000 people. It's not that. But let me tell you something. If there's 25 to 30,000 people here on a Saturday in Western, Pennsylvania in the sunny, hot temperatures, that is saying something about how strong MAGA is in Pennsylvania.
That is definitely saying something. And I'm sure, again, you're in, biofarm agriculture. Joe has been at war with this. Trump, again, he thought NAFTA was a horrible idea, which it was, and he changed it. He put the focus on America. We're going to talk more about that. Going to let you stay hydrated. Speaking of wellness, company you want to check out, we want to thank the Wellness Company. I mean, Democrats are desperate more than ever when it comes to, especially after Biden's disastrous debate performance and that big boy presser. They'll do anything. I mean, they've used lawfare. They promoted hoax after hoax. They've tried to manipulate election laws just to rig the election for Biden. Now many were wondering, hey, are they going to do that pandemic card that they used in 2020? I mean, and then what happens? Almost on cue, what have we heard? Rising COVID numbers again. In the last few weeks, we also continue to hear about the risk of bird flu. I mean, here's the question, though. Is this real? Is it just another election year, a game that they're trying to play? We don't know. But we do know that you can trust the Wellness Company. You don't have to be scared, just be prepared. And that's where they come in. The Wellness Company and their Contagion kit is exactly what you need to have on hand for you and your family to be safe or whatever, whether it's bird flu, COVID, you name it, whatever the globalists throw at us next. The prescription Contagion kit contains just an assortment of life-saving medications, including ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, Z-Pak, Tamiflu. The kit also provides a guidebook as well to aid you in the safe use of all these medications. So just be rest assured knowing that you have medications on hand to help keep you and your family safe. So how do you get one of these kits for you, your friends, your family? Go to twc.health/voice today and place your order. You see that address on your screen, twc.health/voice. And guess what? You can save 10% by using voice. All right, I want to thank them again for being a proud sponsor of our rally coverage today. We still have a lot more coming your way. President Trump set to take to the stage in Butler, Pennsylvania. This is the last rally before he officially becomes a Republican nominee for president. We have Brian Glenn out in the field getting hydrated. Looks like they were able to fix that flag out there because of the wind. And we also have Jeff Couer, host of Ringside Politics, which you catch right here on Real America's Voice. You heard it, 25, 30,000 people. That is the estimate on this very hot, steamy, muggy day. But still a lot of action coming your way. We'll be right back.
Hey, everybody, Charlie Kirk here. I'm thrilled to announce my new book, Right Wing Revolution, that you should learn about. Our nation is falling apart. The left wants to destroy American greatness. Will you allow that to happen? Only one book provides a roadmap on how to save America through a right-wing revolution. If we follow the steps in this book, we can save the West and preserve American greatness. For a gift of any amount, you can get this new book today. Go to tpusa.com.
Have you noticed the ever-alarming 400,000 cell towers that have gone up in the United States alone? How about the electronics that reside in every room of our homes and Wi-Fi that runs 24/7? 5G cell phones are carried in our pockets hours on end. Common complaints are ringing in the ear: sleep deprivation, palpitations, headaches, memory loss, and so much more. Redemption Shield is on the cutting edge of offering products that protect your family from electromagnetic and microwave radiation. From Faraday bags, earthing bed sheets, Wi-Fi router covers, hats, scarves, bed sanctuaries. This will not be going away anytime soon. We will continue to see only faster speeds, 6G, 7G, and more exposure to EMF than any time in our history. Start protecting yourself now. Go to redemptionshield.com and get grounded and shielded today. Use code RAV and save 10%. Redemptionshield.com.
Throughout history, the spirit of patriotism has prevailed. The battles may have changed, but the values remain the same. Today, in 2024, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. For more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With a
Welcome back, all you beautiful patriots. Welcome back to our live team coverage of President Trump's rally taking place in Butler, Pennsylvania. Trump running a little behind schedule. He is a busy man who actually has a hectic schedule, unlike Joe. It's about 5:18 now. President Trump set to take the stage any minute from now. We heard he's just a little bit delayed, but don't worry, have no fear. We're going to bring it to you live. Joining us live now on the ground is Brian Glenn, who's out at the Butler Farm Show area, big arena. And if you're just tuning in, again, he had said it earlier. You called it, Brian. You said it was one of the biggest pre-gatherings that you've seen. And it sounds like the numbers are proving that what was it, 25 to 30,000 is the estimation that you've heard of people out there?
That's what I was told. Now, that could be growing, and that could be a very conservative number as well. I'm kind of trying to look past the media riser, just kind of give you a perspective where I'm at. Obviously, both sides of the media riser going back is full. Obviously, behind me is full. The seats are full. There's standing room only from the buffer here to the seat. So it's completely sitting room only. Now, when you go back behind us, I honestly cannot see, Miranda, where it stops. And it's a long way to the entrance of this area.
Yeah, but, despite the heat, people want to see President Trump. They'll follow him all over the country to see him because, as you said, at this election is so important, if not the most important election of our lifetime, without a doubt. There is so much at stake. And speaking of farm country, you said that you were seeing some John Deere tractors out there. I'm obviously originally from the heartland, Kansas City. But people would not expect someone like President Trump, right? Who grew up big city guy, to have the connection that he does with working class Americans, farmers, but he does. He resonates with them because he doesn't talk at them. He's talking with them. He connects with them. And one of the things that he connected with them on, especially back in 2016, is he was honest. He said NAFTA was a horrible deal and it didn't put America first. And a lot of farmers saw that. I know when I worked and lived in Iowa, I saw that. A lot of manufacturing companies left. They went to other places like Canada, like Mexico. They went out of the United States, and you would see it just completely decimate some of these towns. So I'm sure that's something that people remember him doing back in 2016.
Yeah, they do. And I'll go a step further. He tells the truth about everything. Example number one, NATO. Told the truth about NATO, and I love the fact that he was open about that he wasn't quite sure exactly, what NATO's role was. And of course, Joe Biden used that to, poke fun at Trump, saying this guy got in. He didn't even know who NATO was. Well, guess what? Most Americans didn't know who NATO was because you know why? They were focused on America, not everything overseas. So the fact that he told the truth about NATO and how they wasn't paying their fair share, and he was able to push these leaders in these NATO countries to pay more of their gross domestic product, a percentage of their revenue, basically. So President Trump has told the truth, and that's what American people love about him. Look, you may not always like the answer that you're going to get, but he's the doctor that will walk into your hospital room and say, you know what, here's the reality. You're overweight, quit drinking, quit smoking, eat better, get exercise, or you're going to die. If you don't do that, you're going to die. Other than that, you're perfectly healthy. People don't want to, if they want to be lied to, then Joe Biden is your president. If you want the truth, then you got it. President Trump is the only one in politics that tells it like it is. And he's always done that, and he always will.
Yeah, and people, they can sense it. They've known long enough. What's surprising is that Joe has spent 50 years in politics. It was not supposed to be a lifetime career, and he has made it that. And he has had a reputation for quite some time as being Lion Biden. But now there's a chance that he may not be able to continue staying in office. And of course, the shift then has kind of changed a little bit towards Kamala Harris. I mean, now you have Jen Psaki, the former White House press secretary, who has now gone to MSDNC, actually seeming to make a pitch towards Kamala. Take a listen.
The vice president, I'm gonna call her vice president now because I keep calling her. She is like, in my view, an undervalued talent. She's a very fierce communicator. She's very strong, especially on one of the core issues that made the election maybe won or lost on, which is abortion rights. And they said, this is why I think when she did a couple of interviews after the debate, I was sitting on the set with a bunch of other NBC anchors, and everybody was like, that was great. It's like, yeah. That's what she's doing out in the country, and nobody is really tracking it. It's just, that's who she is. But there is a character out there. It's almost like public opinion hasn't caught up with what she is doing out there. And also, we live in a country that is sexist and racist. So like, there is that. Not everybody at all, but there is a level of it that does impact elections.
Right. So obviously you do not like our country, America. That's one point out of that one takeaway. And the other point is, I mean, fierce communicator? No, she's not. And accomplished? No, she's not. As we heard Biden say, he couldn't even list an accomplishment of hers during her time as vice president. She was a fierce prosecutor. No, she's not. People forget that she's a border czar because, well, she doesn't go to the border. We don't know what she does, Brian. What does she do? Help me.
I don't know. But I tell you, was it sexist and racist when she only got 1% of the vote when she ran for president? It was that sexist and racist then that all Democrats didn't even like her. Her own party didn't even like her. I honestly, when she was put in control of the border, Miranda, I was like, okay, she's going to go down there. She's going to run down the border. She's going to see for herself what we've been reporting for years. And she's going to go back to Washington and she's going to lay out the case and say, we need to do something. She didn't do that. She went to El Paso, which that's not actually, yeah, it's on the border, but not where the problem's at. Like, I'm trying to think of one thing that she ever did that I actually gave her credit for. Hang on a second. Yeah. Well, anyways, I don't know.
Be here all night.
I don't know what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I really don't. I was trying to even, and I mean, again, you think I'd be able to memorize this by now, but to be unburdened by what has been unburdened before, whatever that line that she says over and over and over again, but she really hasn't done anything. In fact, I don't even know why Biden brought it up, because he obviously doesn't really believe it, because he couldn't even think of her name the other night. Listen to this.
Yeah.
My question for you is, how are you incorporating these developments into your decision to stay? And separately, what concerns do you have about Vice President Harris's ability to beat Donald Trump if she were at the top of the ticket?
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there.
You know what was so interesting? I mean, another mix-up there, and I'm sure Trump's going to have fun with that. But did you notice during that, again, big boy press briefing, that there was no follow-up to that? Like, sir, you just mistaken, President Trump as your vice president. It's actually Kamala. Someone finally did, the last reporter to ask a question. But no one did. It just kept going with the questions. And I'm like, you just heard him mistake Zelensky for Putin. And now he's calling Trump his vice president. And this is just within what, a couple of hours? Nobody said anything. Go ahead.
Well, hey, once I said, the media gets an F for that press conference. Yeah. They should have followed up. And then this, I forgot who said it today, but it's like, why weren't there any African American journalists asking questions? And hey, that's a valid question. Let's bring that up. If we're going to play the race card on absolutely everything, then I got to ask the Biden administration and the press team, where were the African American reporters? Where was questions coming from perhaps their community and their viewership? You didn't hear from it. You heard very staged, predetermined people who were going to ask questions. He'd look on his list and he'd say, okay. You know what? It was awful. So I give the media F. I gave Biden earlier a C-, but after further review and of listening to everything, I'm giving him a D+. I'm going to basically drop him down a little bit.
Yeah, that seems reasonable. For those of you watching, what letter grade would you give that big boy press briefing? I'm not even going to ask you about the debate because I don't think there's a single person out there would give that anything other than a big fat F. All right. Don't go anywhere. We're still going to have we're going to continue our live Real America's team coverage of President Trump's rally taking place in Butler, Pennsylvania. President Trump is set to take to the stage any minute from now. You don't want to miss it because this is his last big rally before the RNC, and that is a Republican National Convention, which begins Monday. We're going to have live team coverage of that as well, but that's when he officially becomes the nominee. So you don't want to miss it. We've got all the action for you right now, live on the ground. Again, they're saying around 25 to 30,000 people estimated, could be more, out there anticipating what the president has to say. Join us on Getter, join us on Rumble. Let us know your thoughts. What do you want to hear from the president? Who do you think his VP is going to be? We're going to share some of your thoughts and the president's speech when we return. You're watching Real America's Voice. We'll be right back.
Our friends at Noble Gold are doing something I haven't ever seen before. Noble Gold and Kevin Sorbo have teamed up to provide a free 7-part masterclass that they're calling the Economic Crisis Toolkit. This free series offers video training on asset protection strategies and how to discover growth opportunities during economic crisis. These are tools that host Kevin Sorbo breaks down in 7 easy-to-digest economic classes. Learn to simplify economic concepts and give yourself the personal tools to find potential weak spots in your portfolio. All combined, it's over 1 free hour of premium content dedicated to you becoming a more resilient investor, no matter what future financial challenges may arise. Helpful investor tips narrated by the Hercules that Hollywood canceled, Kevin Sorbo himself. Sign up right now to gain free access. Register to unlock the class at wealth.noblegoldinvestments.com. Visit wealth.noblegoldinvestments.com.
Have you noticed the ever-alarming 400,000 cell towers that have gone up in the United States alone? How about the electronics that reside in every room of our homes and Wi-Fi that runs 24/7? 5G cell phones are carried in our pockets hours on end. Common complaints are ringing in the ear: sleep deprivation, palpitations, headaches, memory loss, and so much more. Redemption Shield is on the cutting edge of offering products that protect your family from electromagnetic and microwave radiation. From Faraday bags, earthing bed sheets, Wi-Fi router covers, hats, scarves, bed sanctuaries. This will not be going away anytime soon. We will continue to see only faster speeds, 6G, 7G, and more exposure to EMF than any time in our history. Start protecting yourself now. Go to redemptionshield.com and get grounded and shielded today. Use code RAV and save 10%. Redemptionshield.com.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Hope you're having fun. Thank you for tuning in to Real America's Voice. We know you have lots of options out there. So we greatly appreciate it. And thanks for being a part of our conversation on Getter and Rumble. So again, we're continuing our live team coverage of President Trump's rally that's taking place in the Keystone State. And that's where we also find our only national campaign correspondent, Brian Glenn, who is braving the heat. He's bold, and nothing's going to slow him down. Nothing. He's like, I will hydrate. I am out here. We got to save this country. There you go. You know the chat's worried about you, and I don't blame them. See, there you have it. We can't have you falling down any stairs.
It would make for a fun video, though, but I don't want it to happen. No, he's I'm all of those things. Plus, I'm a little crazy too, but that's okay because these people are crazy for President Trump as well, and that's why they're out here. I'm still in the break. I try to look and try to see if I can see any end to the people, and Miranda, I can't. I have no idea where it stops.
Well, that's just a sea of people out there, and they realize how critical these rallies are. They want the president to know that they support him, and they are important. I mean, this is his fifth one that he's made to Pennsylvania, and right now, I mean, everyone knows how critical this is. That's why you have Joe Biden out there as well. You have Kamala. We were just talking about her. Still not sure of exactly what she's doing, but we do know it's going to be in Philadelphia. And I know you've been on the ground there for several hours, sharing the voices of real Americans who are concerned about the direction of our country and hoping it will come back. Let's take a look. So we got Brian wanting to show us somebody. Yeah, go for it.
Let's see if we can. Let's swing the camera around, Luke, over to the right. I'm now seeing the motorcade pull up. So the good news is President Trump is on the ground here in Butler. Now, what's going to happen? I'm looking at Stephen Chung, communications director, get out of a vehicle. From this perspective, I don't see anybody else that I would recognize at this point. But the good news is he's here. Now, typically what would happen, he's going to go backstage. He'll take some pictures with some of the local, representatives that are here, and many of the people who spoke at the rally earlier. He'll take pictures with those guys, take some pictures with some law enforcement, and then he's going to step out on stage. But the good news is that he's here, Miranda, which is what we and everybody here wants at this point.
Yes, we do. And I'm sure the people there are as excited as they are. They've been braving those hot conditions. It is 90 degrees. Humidity is high there in Pennsylvania right now. And I think the president doesn't want to keep them waiting any longer. But he's doing pretty well because they were saying it was going to be closer to 6 o'clock. So I think he was like, you know what? Can't keep the voters waiting. And, he's there, so we'll bring that to you live. But as I was saying earlier, there have been a lot of people that have come out to show their support of President Trump, saying this country can't turn around fast enough. We need to get you in office. And you spoke with some people recently today. I think you have a clip that you want to play.
Let's go ahead. Yeah. Everyone has a hot political take, but these ladies have a hot look here. I love it. Today, you've all dressed up patriotically. First of all,
Americanly, we're drumped up.
Yeah. So, where are you guys from?
You're all over. She's free full-time RV. And full-time RV.
Pennsylvania. I like the RV life. I like to live that life. So, President Trump, got to get him back in office, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Main reason.
Yep. Without a doubt.
The only one that has a set of balls and will stand up for us and give our money back. Yes.
Because of the price of gas, because of the groceries, because of the southern border, and because of my 401k.
Yeah. Now, in your immediate friends, family circle, work, church, neighborhood, things like that, does everyone feel like you?
Absolutely not. It broke up my family.
Really?
Yeah. The whole.
No, what?
Let me ask you a question, because this is very interesting, because we hear this a lot, actually. What was it about Trump that they didn't like?
They don't like his mean tweets and the way he talks.
So it's it's personality, not the policy, though.
Well, it probably is that too, but mostly I think it's the.
Are they not willing to consider him at all?
No.
So they'll vote for Biden, being a weak friend.
Because he's not Trump.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just
I know.
crazy. Yeah. Well, I will say most of my family is Republican. They'll vote, but I have a good majority that's not. So.
And that has wedged between you guys.
Yep. And where I'm from, over in Mercer County, Pennsylvania, it's all pretty much Trump. Very small part for Biden.
Can the never Trumpers ever admit that life was better under a Trump policies in 2016?
Some people, but most of them, they just don't want to hear it. They don't want to see that. They just listen to all the other news instead of researching on their own and finding out. Yeah.
I would imagine the 34 indictments, they love that. They love that.
Oh, yes. Yep, definitely. Then they say, yeah, he's a criminal. No, he's not. But
And the high price of gas, I don't know who they blame that on, right?
They say blame it on Trump, but I don't know how, but they blame it on Trump. The food prices, everything. Uh-oh.
Move over here real quick. Yeah, they're going to blame everything on Trump.
Right.
And
Yeah.
And for many years down the road, they're going to just keep blaming Trump. So, so I'd rather, I see him. I hope he gets in there and cleans house this time.
Well, I like your outfits. You guys look great. You're great. The rally is that way.
That's so sad to see, but it's so true. There are still people out there, as you heard from those two ladies, that just no matter what, Joe could be, half into his grave and they still are going to vote for him. I mean, breathing machine apparatus, whatever it takes, they'd still do it. And it's just sad.
It is sad. But what's interesting is I think stories like that will become less and less because, look, at the end of the day, they're going to go into the voting booth and probably vote for Trump, but let everybody think they hate President Trump, but they'll vote for Trump, but they still support Biden publicly. I think that's going to happen. Think about it for a second.
Okay.
They'll post up. They can't stand President Trump, but they're going to vote for him. And no one has to know that. And maybe they're afraid to post up on social media. They're afraid to, they're not going to wear a Trump hat or a Trump shirt, but as long as they vote for him, that's the only thing that counts.
Yeah, and it's sad. You were complimenting those two lovely ladies on their patriotic gear, and it's a really sad day in America that simply wearing anything patriotic, putting a flag outside your home, it's we know which party. We know you stand for Trump. No, I stand for America, and Trump does believe in putting America first. It shouldn't be about party whatsoever, but that's the sad reality that we live in right now, isn't it, Brian?
It is. I'll give you a great example. I can drive in any neighborhood across America, and if I see an American flag on a flagpole in front of their house or perhaps by their front door, automatically assuming I know who they're going to vote for. Automatically.
Yeah.
If I see a bumper sticker with American flag on the back window, automatically know who they vote for. It's sad that it's like that. But Miranda, the Democrats have made it like that because their imagery. Let me step aside for a second. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Luke, I want you to push in on the walkout stage over to the left of us. Miranda, do you see the amount of American flags that are back there? Do you see that massive flag going over the back riser? That's because the Republican Party loves this country. Miranda, you do not see this at any kind of Democratic event.
You're absolutely right. I mean, I doubt you'd even see it at a 4th of July Democrat event. Speaking of which, I know earlier, I know we've got to thank our sponsor, but I know earlier the candidate for Senate there referenced the American flag. There was this massive American flag that was kind of crooked and they were able to fix it. I'm just curious how they were able to do that. I know there were several people probably volunteering to do that. And then, of course, that was Trump-endorsed Senate candidate David McCormick. Do we know how that flag got turned around? the right way?
Let's show the flag. Yeah, let's show the flag real quickly, Luke. Let's show the flag that's hanging up there. I did.
Yeah.
There, if you'll see the amount of people on the top of the stands there, they lowered the crane. The flag was at a level that the people from the stage could, feel it. They held it in place while they made adjustments. They flipped it around back where it wasn't twisted, and the crowd went crazy. I don't remember what was. I think we were in a commercial break when that happened, but the crowd was behind this massive effort to straighten out Old Glory. It was a great moment, but that's what it's all about. We love this country, we love this flag, and we want to. Heck, Betsy Ross does it. Her house. It was not too far from where we're at. It was in Philadelphia. I was there in front of that historical monument weeks ago. This state loves the flag. The people here in Pennsylvania wanted to fix it, and they all came together to do just that.
That's what it, united we stand. All right, we're going to continue more of our coverage here, live team coverage again, happening in Pennsylvania. Brian Glenn on the ground there. In the meantime, if you haven't already, you'll want to do it. You really want to do it. Get your free Trump knife. Again, I mean that. It's free. Go to freetrumpknife.com. Look, there are only 250 available. They are highly collectible. They're likely going to surge in value. So if you're contemplating it, don't. Go ahead and do it. All you have to do is pay for $10 in shipping. What do you have to lose? Add this patriotic knife to your collection. You know it's going to be a great collectible piece. So again, check it out, freetrumpknife.com. All right, keep it right here. As you heard Brian Glenn, easy for me to say, the president's motorcade has shown up. So any minute from now, he's going to go to the stage and give his speech in Butler, Pennsylvania. This will be his last big speech before he officially becomes a Republican nominee for president during this week's RNC. We'll be right back.
Our friends at Noble Gold are doing something I haven't ever seen before. Noble Gold and Kevin Sorbo have teamed up to provide a free 7-part masterclass that they're calling the Economic Crisis Toolkit. This free series offers video training on asset protection strategies and how to discover growth opportunities during economic crisis. These are tools that host Kevin Sorbo breaks down in 7 easy-to-digest economic classes. Learn to simplify economic concepts and give yourself the personal tools to find potential weak spots in your portfolio. All combined, it's over 1 free hour of premium content dedicated to you becoming a more resilient investor, no matter what future financial challenges may arise. Helpful investor tips narrated by the Hercules that Hollywood canceled, Kevin Sorbo himself. Sign up right now to gain free access. Register to unlock the class at wealth.noblegoldinvestments.com. Visit wealth.noblegoldinvestments.com.
Have you noticed the ever-alarming 400,000 cell towers that have gone up in the United States alone? How about the electronics that reside in every room of our homes and Wi-Fi that runs 24/7? 5G cell phones are carried in our pockets hours on end. Common complaints are ringing in the ear: sleep deprivation, palpitations, headaches, memory loss, and so much more. Redemption Shield is on the cutting edge of offering products that protect your family from electromagnetic and microwave radiation. From Faraday bags, earthing bed sheets, Wi-Fi router covers, hats, scarves, bed sanctuaries. This will not be going away anytime soon. We will continue to see only faster speeds, 6G, 7G, and more exposure to EMF than any time in our history. Start protecting yourself now. Go to redemptionshield.com and get grounded and shielded today. Use code RAV and save 10%. Redemptionshield.com.
Welcome back. Looking at Old Glory there, back to her Old Glory there in Butler, Pennsylvania. We're at the Butler farm there. where Brian Glenn is standing by with a massive crowd, really, of 25 to 30,000 people estimated to be there in attendance. It's kind of hard for him to see, but there is overflow. People have been out there 4 hours, braving the very hot and muggy temperatures in anticipation of President Trump, who is set to go to the stage any minute. Brian said and showed us all, with Luke's help, the president's motorcade showing up. And you said he's probably there meeting and greeting with some of the locals and local officials as well, but we're expecting him to take to the stage. And I'm looking forward, Brian, to hearing what the president has to say. I think we've gotten a little bit of a preview from some of the other speakers that we heard from today, much of which focused on energy. Probably no big surprise. I mean, this is the Keystone State, right?
Yeah, and of course, energy affects everyone. Especially if you work in the energy sector in this state, your job has been affected. If you work in the energy sector in Texas, your job has been affected. So, and if you go buy anything, a cell phone, a computer, if you got a car, a boat, materials are made from petrochemical. So that affects everyone. It will be a keynote tonight here in Pennsylvania, but I think also the border, the drugs, the amount of drugs that are flowing in across the border. 300 people a day, Miranda, die of fentanyl. So that's going to be a big topic tonight.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because we did hear from one of the officials earlier talking about fentanyl poisoning. And what's been so interesting, and during Biden's term, again, we know he's not really running the country, but during this administration, is, there used to be like, well, that's a border state. That's a border state. Now, when you go anywhere in the country, and Brian, you've been there because you've been to all these rallies, which have been all over the country, people are concerned about the border. It usually goes from border to economy, but the two are very much related. I don't know if you would have heard the same thing. In fact, I guarantee you wouldn't have. But even prior to Trump taking office, I don't think those would have been the top two issues people would have brought up. Maybe the economy, but I don't think you'd be in a place like Pennsylvania and you'd ask people on the street, what's the biggest concern? And they would come right at you and say the border or fentanyl, which is the reason we have a fentanyl problem and enough to kill every American in the country 7 times over is because of the open border.
You're right. I mean, the border was an issue with, states along the southern border. So you went up to New Hampshire, back, and it wasn't really the border. They didn't understand it. Now, I will say, I'll give credit to what Governor Greg Abbott of Texas has done. He's shipped a lot of, illegals into these big, major, East Coast cities and said, here's what it looks like when you have an invasion. And at first I didn't like that idea. I wanted to actually send them back to where they came from. But since I knew that wasn't going to happen, why not? Why not dump them in Martha's Vineyard? Why not put them in New York City? Why not put them in Chicago and let those very left-leaning local and state authorities get a firsthand feel of what it's like to deal with this invasion? So, 2016 in New Hampshire, the border probably wasn't a big issue. 2024, you're darn right it is. It's an issue that everybody knows that it's the policies that made us safe. Yes, building the wall is one thing. Physically building the wall is one thing. But Miranda, having a policy in place and having an administration that can send the message to all these countries that say, don't come here. You can come here legally, but don't you dare try to get in because we're going to send you back.
Yeah, I mean, I still love it. We were talking about Kamala Harris, and everyone forgets it because maybe they're regretting that. But, being labeled the border czar, which she's clearly done nothing on the border. And even when you talk about some of these South American countries, even Mexico, and they're blaming this current administration for the border crisis. They're saying you caused that. And we have a border team unlike any other that you'll see on other networks. And I'm not just saying that. People that are watching right now know that. We have Oscar Ramirez, my co-host Sarah Dahl, she's out there all the time. Ben Berquam. I mean, they have risked their lives going out there trying to share the truth. And when they sat there and Kamala again and Biden lied and said it was because of climate change that these people were leaving, I mean, that was the most pathetic lie ever. I don't know how anybody could buy that. And when they just went up and asked these random people, why are you coming here? You know what they said? Joe Biden. That's the real reason. They knew that they could get in. And
here's a bonus for you, Miranda. If they go to Texas, they're likely to get a Social Security card. And they're likely going to be able to give them the option to vote in the next election. Isn't that great? So we got 1.2, maybe probably 1.4 million illegals in Texas. And so, people often like to keep their eye on these swing states, like Pennsylvania. You still Texas with 42 electoral votes, I believe. If you win Texas, it's game over. You flip that state, game over. Who cares about Wisconsin? Who cares about Michigan? You flip Texas, it's over. And I think that's something we need to watch on election night. And it's all because they've let these illegals come in. And they've got these organizations. And Ben Berquam, God bless Ben Berquam. He has been one of the best at this. And there's a lot of organizations that are absolutely focused on getting these people in and getting them in the system. It's not hard to do, but the scary thing is that they're going to be able to walk in on November 5th and vote for the next president, and they're not a U.S. citizen.
Yeah, and Ben is in his outstanding reporting, has talked about these non-governmental organizations. They get tax dollars for bringing these people through. Organizations like Catholic Charities. Obviously, this is the only way the Democrats think they could win. And it is a scary thought when you think that they could try to flip Texas. But, it's not just Texas. I mean, there's 25, 30 states that when you get like a driver's license or a government ID, Tara reported on this, you're automatically registered to vote. And that's why I'm glad that, it's not going to happen, which is sad. But I'm glad that Republicans at least took the initiative, thanks to President Trump pushing this, saying we need to push the SAVE Act. And what is that? Well, that is to basically get it on record that these states have to prove that the people that are voting in these elections are actual Americans, that they're not illegals. It's against the law anyway for them to vote in federal elections. So this should be a no-brainer. But we know it passed the House, and there were still Democrats that opposed that. And you know what? Republicans knew that was going to happen. But I hope for people that are upset with illegal immigration, like those ladies that you were talking to, I'm sure some of those family members that are Democrats that are upset with that, I hope they show them the Democrats that voted against this act, that are in favor of illegals voting in federal elections. I hope they show that to them. I really do, because that is an issue that I have seen that will resonate with some Democrats.
I don't know if there's anything else that needs to be said about that. You're absolutely right. I'm hoping it is. I mean,
I hope so too. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, they broke federal law coming in here illegally, right? Let's just start with that. And then it's against the law to actually vote. If you're not allowed to if you're not a U.S. citizen, but under the Biden administration, anybody can vote. Maybe that wakes people up, Miranda. I don't know. I hope it does.
I hope so. And I'm just saying that because obviously everyone knows somebody that's a Democrat or doesn't like whatever, but that is one issue, and it was the issue that got President Trump elected back in 2016. I'm sure he's going to bring up that. I'm sure he's going to bring up economy. I'm sure he's going to bring up energy. Anything that you think could surprise us that President Trump could bring up as we await for him to take to the stage?
Okay, I don't think he talks about vice presidents at all. I don't think he brings that topic up. However, he will bring up Alvin Bragg and the weaponization of the New York Attorney General. He'll bring up Jack Smith, the weaponization of his Justice Department. He'll bring up J6, the people that are now sitting and rotting in cells for J6. Let's see, the music came down. Nope, got another song. He's going to talk about. I think that the sham of a trial. I think that's one thing he will bring up, because believe it or not, Miranda, that's another topic that people can relate to and say, wait a minute, what in fact what laws did Trump break? And it's really interesting when you ask some of these anti-Trumpers exactly what are these 34 indictments. Well, it's just a bunch of hush money, paid hush money. Okay, well, did the Federal Elections Commission find it any wrongdoing back when they investigated years ago? No. Then why all of a sudden does Alvin Bragg find a problem with it? Well, he was found guilty in a jurors of his peers. Really? He was? He's President Trump. You in New York City, you mean to tell me that you get 12 people that can be impartial on a case? So he will talk about that. And I think that's something that does resonate with people that might not even voted at all. And I've actually seen it within the African-American community, because I've asked them, why do you support President Trump so much? And they'll tell you, because we can identify with the justice system becoming after you when you've done nothing wrong. I'm telling you, all of this is going to backfire on the Democrats, because he's only able to pull more people into his camp by this. And I think he's going to talk about it tonight.
And you can't underestimate that. It is criminal what's being done to President Trump and anybody that supports them. It is just awful to see, especially when we've seen contempt of Congress. Well, I mean, Merrick Garland, you should be held in contempt of Congress. I mean, why is Steve Bannon, host of War Room? Why is Peter Navarro? Why are they in jail, being held in contempt of Congress? But Merrick Garland, well, he doesn't. No, sorry. Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Congresswoman for Georgia, MTG, she's not having it.
It's definitely something that should have passed. Unfortunately, there was a small group of Republicans that voted against it.
Do you have a message for that small group of Republicans?
They should pay attention to the will of the people. Merrick Garland has weaponized the Department of Justice. And I also would like to see the Weaponization Committee and the Judiciary Committee be stronger on this.
They should pay attention. I mean, we were talking about it earlier. I mean, Merrick Garland, it's been clear from the very beginning. Remember, Merrick Garland is somebody that President Obama wanted to see be on the Supreme Court, and it didn't happen. And Mitch McConnell put a stop to that. And then who do they bring on to the Department of Justice? Merrick Garland. Who does that? Biden. I mean, the man's been targeting Catholics. Yeah, parents, describing them as terrorists. Not the people that we've seen that have been shutting down universities. Yeah, that Merrick Garland. That's the guy. And he should be held in contempt. And why are they wanting to hold him in contempt? Well, we were talking about it earlier. If you're just tuning in, they want not just us, not just Real America's Voice, but CNN is requesting that. Multiple organizations want the audio tapes. So there was a special counsel by the name of Robert Hur, you may recall, who was appointed to actually investigate Joe Biden for his misuse of classified documents. Remember, President Trump had the authority. That's been clear. Joe Biden did not. I mean, he had documents going back from when he was a senator, when he was a vice president. They were at the university. They were in his garage. I mean, he had no business doing any of it. So they do this investigation, and basically, Robert Hur doesn't recommend any charges. Why? Well, he's an old, forgetful man. But they had audio tapes of those, several, and he wouldn't release them, despite people requesting it and multiple organizations, as I mentioned, CNN, wanting that information, won't release it. So that's why they're trying to hold him in contempt. We have just received word that President Trump is making his way towards the stage in about a minute. Again, this is taking place in Butler, Pennsylvania, an area that is very much Trump country. But again, Pennsylvania is the probably most critical state when it comes to the race for 2024. This is President Trump's 5th time to the state, but his first time being in the western part of the state. And again, we want to thank our sponsors, and now's still your chance. Go to freetrumpknife.com. Again, they are handing out just 250 free knives. All you have to do is pay for $10 in shipping. But you want to act fast. They won't last long. Get one for yourself or maybe for your friend. And you know they're going to go up in value. And again, it's only $10 in shipping. Shipping, easy for me to say. Go to Free Trump Knife. There you see it. President Trump getting there towards the podium. Also in Pennsylvania, that's why it's so critical. You have Joe Biden and you have Kamala Harris as well. But this is President Trump's big rally before he officially receives the nomination as a Republican presidential candidate for the race for 2024. I want to remind all of you, we'll also be carrying that coverage Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We've been hearing from a lot of different speakers throughout the afternoon. Energy has been on their mind. Fentanyl has been on their mind. And people in the crowd telling us they're worried about the economy. They're worried about the border, and rightfully so. But we've also heard from people that have said from the Keystone State that, you know what, because of Trump, this state has shifted more and more red. President Trump won the state in 2016 as well as in 2020. And if that's the case, he's destined to win it also in 2024. Looking forward to hear what President Trump has to say. Again, it's been a hot day in Butler, Pennsylvania, but folks have been patient, hopefully staying hydrated. Early estimates, Brian talking to folks on the ground, 25 to 30,000 people there at least, and probably more still trying to get in. Let's take a listen to what President Trump has to say.
This is a big crowd. This is a big, beautiful crowd. I wish the fake news back there would show it. I wish they'd spin their cameras and show it, because nobody would believe it. You know, the other day, Biden was saying, I've got big crowds, meaning him. He gets big crowds. He doesn't know what a big... And there were like 93 people there. 93, you know what that is? That's where the front row Joes sit, right here, 93. We got more than 93 front row Joes. Hello, Butler, and hello to Pennsylvania. I'm thrilled to be back in this beautiful Commonwealth with thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots, and that's what you are, and we got to bring our country back to health, because our country is going to hell, if you haven't noticed. Millions and millions of people are pouring in from prisons and from mental institutions. We're going to stop it. We're going to get it stopped. We're going to bring them back. As he said, we're going to bring them back. We're going to deport. With the help of everyone here tonight, we're going to win Pennsylvania this November. We're going to defeat crooked Joe Biden and laughing Kamala Harris. And we're going to take back the White House, and we're going to take back our country. We're going to take it back. Our country's been stolen from us. You see that? It's the greatest, one of the greatest crimes is what they've done over 4 years and hiding what the obvious facts are, isn't it? Huh? Isn't it a shame? You run for the president of the United States from a basement. All very dishonest stuff. But, you know, we're going to have the greatest election. I tell you what, we did fantastically in 2016. We did much better in 2020. You know, we did much better. And it was rigged. It was a rigged deal, but we did much better. But it's nothing compared to the enthusiasm all over, not just in Pennsylvania, all over. It is nothing compared to the enthusiasm that we've seen over the last year. Because, I mean, a year, think of it, year and a half ago it started. It really started from immediately after the election. You want to know the truth. But a year and a half ago, we were seeing crowds of people desperate to have rallies, desperate to have anything to take back our country. And we're going to take it back. Next week, the Republican Party will hold its convention in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And 5 days from now, we will officially accept the Republican nomination for president of the United States. Right? And we're going to get a good senator. I'll tell you, you have a real stiff right now in office. He's a stiff. You know, your current senator, I never met him. I don't think I've ever met him. I was only there 4 years, but I don't think I ever met him. I'll tell you, that's your senator. He votes with Biden or whoever happens to be furthest left. We got to get him elected. McCormick. We got to get McCormick, press McCormick. He's a good man, too. He's a valiant fighter. He's a great, great gentleman. So we're going to bring him up for, can we bring him up for a couple of minutes later, a little bit later? All right. You get ready, McCormick. You get ready. I'll get you up here. The world will see a vibrant Republican Party that is bigger, stronger, more confident, and more united than ever before. And that's what we are. We're the most united party now. I'm watching the fake news go crazy because they're saying the Republican Party has not been united since Ronald Reagan like it is right now. It was united under Ronald Reagan the second time. It was very united. And they said there's never been anything like it. They've never seen a movement like this. Make America great again. You know, Joe Biden talks about we have to stop MAGA. MAGA means make America great again, Joe. It means make America great again. That's all we want to do. If he was doing the job, I wouldn't even be doing this. I'd be at some beautiful place with a gorgeous ocean, the Mediterranean, the Atlantic, maybe the Pacific. Thank you. Thank you. Instead, I'm here with you fighting like hell to get a senator elected and to make sure we take back the White House, because if we do, we're going to make America better than ever before. We're going to make it. And it's not easy because we have millions and millions of people in our country that shouldn't be here. Dangerous people, criminals. We have criminals. We have drug dealers. We have people that should not be here. And it's much tougher than if it happened. We had the strongest border ever. In recorded history, we had the best border. In fact, if they could ever put up a chart, I don't know if they can do it. Do you guys have access to that chart that I love so much? You don't mind if I go off teleprompter, do you? Because these teleprompters are so damn boring. I try and explain that. Oh, there's it. Wow. You guys are doing it. They're getting better with time. My guys, take a look at that chart. Take a look at the arrow on the bottom. See the big red arrow, right? So that's when I left office. That was the lowest point, and that comes right from the government services, comes right out of Border Patrol. Take a look at that. So that arrow is the lowest amount of illegal immigration ever in recorded history into our country. And then the worst president in the history of our country took over. And look what happened to our country. Probably 20 million people. And that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
God.
You're watching Real America's Voice, a live coverage. As you just saw, there have been shots fired. This is happening at a Trump rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. We're going to try to go out to Brian Glenn. We're not really sure everything that's happened. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We just want to be calm. We want to get the information. But shots have been fired. We do see the president putting his fist up in the air. We hope he's okay. I want to bring Brian Glenn into the conversation. They have rushed the president to the motorcade. From what I can tell, Brian, tell us what you were seeing on the ground.
Well, right now the crowd is extremely angry at the media. They are turning around. They're giving the middle finger. They blame what has happened right now on the media. Now, I will say this. During about, 7 minutes into his speech, we heard multiple shots fired. And this was something, Miranda, I honestly, it was so unbelievable. I did even, this was like a night, like this could not have happened. But all of a sudden you saw the president drop in front of the podium with some type of protection from our cameras. And you saw the SWAT team move into this area and administer immediate care to the president while he was on the ground. And I heard from the microphone picking it up, said that, he would make comments towards the medical and military assistance there. And he was quickly got up, put his fists in the air, and a sign of strength, a sign of that he's okay. But man, I have not believed what we witnessed here today here in Butler, Pennsylvania. And this is something, folks, we have heard about threats for years on President Trump. Now, let me say, they are taking somebody, let's turn our cameras over there. They are administrating someone, I don't know, where someone either might be shot on the ground in the bleachers, or perhaps from when they drop to the ground, maybe because the whole area, yes, as soon as shots were fired, came to the ground.
Yeah, and we saw that unfold. If we can just kind of keep the camera there, because we did see multiple people, for obvious reasons, come to the ground. We also saw security men in fatigues rushing towards the scene there. Are you able to see where they're headed? Does it seem like they're going after anybody in particular? Set the scene for us, because it looks like there are people being told to stay put and stay on the ground. But you tell us what you're seeing.
Well, no, you're right. I do see people leaving this area. Obviously, this is not, if you're in a position to leave right now, you should leave. But a lot of people are sticking around the bleachers because they're looking at the people that are down on the ground right now. The military has moved, obviously, the Trump team out of here. The motorcade has left along with the motorcycles. So they have left the premise. But Miranda, there's a lot of people here in a state of shock and a state of anger. I mean, immediately after this, the entire crowd turned around in a very angry tone towards the media, saying that it's likely our fault that this has happened. I really, honestly, in all of the years I've been in television, I have never felt this way right now as something unfolds live right in front of our viewers. It's something that I don't think any of us will forget. But the good news is that President Trump raised his fist and basically is showing the American people that he is okay. That is the main takeaway from this right now. Now, what we do not know is, where did these shots come from? What happened? Who was struck? How many shots? We heard multiple shots here, multiple shots as this unfolded. I don't know where those shots came from. Obviously, I've got a lot of people that I can see hugging their kids, picking them up. And, you know, I'm sure that a lot of people are scared, and this is something that we have not seen. But Miranda, I see people crying right now that are concerned. This is something that we have not. We always thought that this would be something that would be a desperate attempt to stop President Trump in this campaign. And Miranda, we witnessed that today here in Butler.
And like I said earlier, you've been to hundreds of these rallies. I imagine, just as we are, and I'm here, and you're there, that everyone is in complete and utter shock. I know security has always been very tight. Obviously, he has Secret Service protection as the 45th president of the United States. So I think a lot of people are in shock that something like this was able to happen. Tell us right now, I'm surprised. Are they letting people go? Do they have anybody arrested there? I mean, we just heard multiple shots being fired. And can you tell? Because I'm wondering if other people were perhaps injured.
That I do not know, and I am trying to confirm that. I've sent some messages out to the Trump team to say, hey, can you confirm anything? Now, the organizers here, security is letting people leave. There are people that are leaving here. It doesn't look like at this point, Miranda, that anyone is in custody, that anyone is being held down. I think the threat here has been eliminated. But there's so much uncertainty because we don't know where the shots come from. How many shots? Is there anyone on the ground that has been hurt? And like I said, I will say this, the people leaving here right now are very, very, very upset. But if you look at the political climate right now and you look at the amount of people, I'm good news. I'm not fake. I didn't do that. I work for Real America's Voice. I got it all. We're good. We're good. People are angry, and I understand that. I totally understand that. So
when you say
Miranda,
that they're angry,
this is where we're at in this country.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I know we couldn't quite make out, and I know that the people there are speaking out. And you said that they're angry at the media. Do they believe that's because they're demonizing President Trump, and that has made him a target, and this is why shots were fired? And do we know specifically, because it looked like, heaven forbid, it did look like President Trump was hit, even though he did put his fist up in the air, trying to cast fear aside to his supporters out there at that rally that are without a doubt alarmed.
No, okay, so let me address the media real quick. They're angry at the media. You know, Trump said 3 times during his speech, or go into it, said, I wish the media would show the crowd. I wish the media told the truth. I wish the media did that. So this is a narrative that he always says, because, you know, the fake news, if you will, has always been something that has been a talking point for President Trump. So when this happened, I think it's very instinctively that people here feel like it is the media plays a part in basically demonizing him and painting him as this, you know, world villain. So I can understand their feelings towards the media. I really do. And you couldn't see it, but this guy was giving me the middle finger, telling me F you and all this stuff. And I said, look, I'm here for President Trump. We are not here spreading misinformation. Yeah. I wanted to make that clear. But let me tell you something. The media, Miranda, the media that's sitting on either side of me right now, they're all live right now. They are very concerned right now. And they looked like they were very visibly upset with what was going on. I honestly, Miranda, there is a police presence here and there's people in this area, but people are leaving. You can see they're leaving the bleachers, they're filing out. But if I could say, I don't know if they have anybody if they're in custody. I don't know that. I can't confirm that. Hopefully we get some information here shortly. But what we just saw was honestly one of the worst case scenarios at a rally. And, we've had people before. Go ahead, Miranda. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, as you're saying that, I mean, yes, obviously it's something we've all feared, but for the people that may be just tuning in right now, I just kind of want to get everybody up to speed. Again, not that long ago, a few minutes ago, President Trump took to the stage, and as he was speaking, this is what happened. Multiple shots were fired. You saw the president there grab the side of his neck. This would have been on his right side. You can see people there and the bleachers all going down, trying to see what's going on, moving their heads around. Secret Service, of course, stepped in. This took place for several minutes. People kind of saying, where did this come from? And then you see the president moments later, and you see it coming in. You see that, kind of this Secret Service SWAT team, people coming in, making sure the president's okay. You can see it right there on your screen. And this took place for several minutes. And people didn't know what was going on. I mean, just like you, we're watching this. And then they start to bring the president up, bring him up. There you see him on the left side. They face him forward. They're basically barricading him with their bodies, which is what they're supposed to do. And you can see President Trump raising his fist, letting everyone know he's okay, to the supporters in the crowd, as Secret Service, basically builds this wall, this shield, if you will, to keep protecting the president. You see people there supporting him. They're taking him down the stairs and then towards the motorcade. If we can, guys, and again, I don't want to replay this ad nauseum, but I want to just play it again because I think you kind of get the direction, at least the first part. And then, Brian, you can kind of chime in from what you're seeing because you're there on the ground in Pennsylvania. So there, you see the president take his hand and he grabbed it towards his neck. But you could still see the people behind him not knowing where it's coming from. But tell us again, you heard multiple shots. What did they sound like to you, and how were the people around you reacting?
Okay, I'll get to what I saw in here in a second, but I'm going to bring in Blake. You might be better known as Brick Suit. You're basically always in the first and four rows. What did you see and what did you hear?
So I was watching the president. I was in the front row, right in the center, heard the cracks. Didn't want to believe it was gunfire, Brian. Wanted to think it was somebody pulling a really crappy prank. And then from the reactions, obviously it was not. People are just praying for President Trump up there right now.
Yeah. So what did you personally do when you heard the crackling there? Did you get on the ground?
No, I looked for the sides. I was trying to see where it was coming from. I mean, bad self-preservation instincts on my part, but I was looking towards the sound and didn't see it. And then when I looked back up towards the podium, that's when I saw the Secret Service members jumping on President Trump to protect him. Okay. I mean, these guys are the most selfless individuals we'll ever meet. And then he was down on the ground for a while, and I was trying to figure out from what I could hear whether or not he was hit or injured, and I did not hear anything about that. Now, when he stood up, he did have blood. It looked like on his right ear.
Yeah, it
looked like it was from the top of his ear. So really I don't think it didn't appear to me that he was bleeding from his ear. He could have cut his head
touched it
when he was. It could be something else. His hand, it could have been transferred. He might have hit his head when he was jumped on by the Secret Service, hit the podium. There's a lot of things that could happen. But when they were holding him up, he was raising his fist.
Yeah.
He was defiant. And I don't see him doing that if he'd been really, really struck seriously. And I'm praying that he was not.
This is a very emotional moment here for all of us. And of course, my phone has been blowing up. Yes, I'm okay. But I will say this, everyone on the media riser immediately went down and got down below. Real quickly, you've heard some of the screaming that people have towards the media riser immediately after this. What's your take on that?
Seriously, it's a gag. You know, I mean, to the extent that there's a bias in the American media, it is with the editors and the people who set the story narrative at the top levels of CNN and other networks like that. It is not the people on this riser. It is not the camera people. It is not the technicians. So, you know, it's misplaced anger towards how media is unfair to President Trump, but that's from the corporate level down. It's not the people on the riser.
Did you see anyone be taken into custody from a police officer?
I did not see anybody being taken into custody. I did see what appeared to be 2 people hit in the grandstands.
Okay, back in the bleachers.
The bleachers
okay.
Right there.
So Miranda, where we were looking at that in fact was someone that was hit by
It appeared to be so. Based upon the reaction, I did not see a person being hit, but based upon the reactions of the people that were near them, it looked to be that somebody was hit. Yeah. And if you have to look at where they were, if facing straight back from the podium to the riser is 12 o'clock, the shots are possibly coming from 2 and maybe 10. There may have been more than one person.
We did hear multiple shots at this whole time. It was a kind of a cluster, if you will, of shots fired. People around you, what was obviously a big major shock? This is something I've never thought we'd ever witness, especially on live television. But people around you, what did you hear from them? I saw people crying as they were leaving.
Disbelief, outrage, shock, and then prayer and optimism.
Yeah. Real quickly, I'm just reading some text messages. We're gonna think. I want to toss it over to. I want to toss it over to Jack Posobiec. I'm being told from the Trump team that we might want to wrap up our stuff here in precaution. I'm going to thank for precautionary reasons, but I'm going to toss it. Thank you so much, Blake. I appreciate it. God bless. Thank you for hanging there. And
everybody say a prayer for President Trump.
Yeah.
To whoever you can.
Okay.
Hold him up.
Hold him up. Yeah, I know. I'm emotional just like you are right now. Jack, can you hear me? I want to get your thoughts on what you just witnessed. Go ahead.
Right. So, Brian, this is Jack
you're live
Posobiec
on. Yes.
calling in. And just going off of my military background, Navy intelligence, obviously, first comes first. This is a massive lapse in security. Secret Service's bubble of protection for the president has been penetrated. Now, that Butler, Pennsylvania rally location, if people were watching the videos earlier today, that's an open field rally. And so open field rallies are inherently dangerous to an extent because you have a situation where people could potentially using long-range rifle fire or some type of long-range implement could possibly be able to take a shot at your primary, the primary detailee, in this case, of course, being the president. So the idea being that when you're in a stadium, each person that goes into a stadium is checked and rechecked. However, when you're in an open field setting, especially some of those areas, Butler, Pennsylvania, they have the fracking columns, they have the drills, the derricks, etc., the fracking rigs. And so many potential spots for a sniper. That being said, it's still too early to tell exactly what happened. I'm just kind of talking in general about the overall security posture going into an event like that. Now, obviously, it goes beyond without saying that we have to figure out more information. We have to go through every piece of footage with a fine-tooth comb, as I'm sure the Secret Service and the FBI will be doing so very soon here, as well as getting us an update on the health of Donald Trump, former president of the United States, who has been shot today, we are told. Miraculously, it seems surviving. Now, from the video I was able to see, I should say, that it appears as though the shot nicked him in the upper earlobe. Of course, it's still too early to tell. I'm just going off of some cell phone footage. I'm out here with my family, actually. And if that shot had been a millimeter or so inner towards the towards the cranium, towards the brain pan, blood, that would be something that would easily be a fatal shot, or a shot inducing some type of cerebral paralysis and taking him out, neutralizing him for a long time. Everyone knows what headshots do. And so this is a situation where you have a massive lapse in presidential security. This is something obviously that hasn't happened in decades in the United States. We've entered a new era of political violence, and something where there absolutely needs to be questions answered about why this security lapse was allowed to take place when you're dealing with a Secret Service detailee in a threat posture such as this, in an election such as this, and by the way, why we are just one day away from the invocation of the Republican National Convention, which of course, I'm sure based on his medical status, we'll find whether or not that's able to go on as scheduled. But the first and foremost, obviously, thoughts and prayers with the president and his family. But more importantly, we need to get to the bottom of what happened in the security lapse here today in Butler, Pennsylvania.
Jack Posobiec joining us here on live in Butler, Pennsylvania, to talk about the events that unfolded about 25 minutes ago. Multiple appears to be shots fired. It also appears that the president is okay as far as with the ability to raise his hand and his fist, and got an immediate response from the crowd. But the scene here is still in major disbelief. That they cannot imagine this would happen. Now, Jack added some really great perspective that this is an open field event, and there are, trees, and there are, an area. But typically, from what I've seen, we've seen a good perimeter setup along some of these rallies that are in this open field. So this does really surprise me if, in fact, a shooter came in from outside the perimeter, that it was able to connect. We also have Grant Stinchfield, who is going to join us here real quickly to give us his thoughts on what just unfolded here in Butler. Grant, would you ever imagine that you and I would be talking about an attempted, shooting, an attempted assassination on a president?
Brian, the sad reality is I can imagine this. My biggest fear for President Trump has always been that they can't stop him through the courts and they can't stop him at the voting booth, that they would try to kill him. In fact, I had this very conversation with President Trump's son, Don Jr., about how much do you fear about whether or not they will try to take President Trump's life. Now, let me just make some assessments here. I am praying for President Trump. But from watching his reactions to everything, I do believe he's going to be okay. He was bleeding from behind his ear. That means something happened. Whether this was a gunshots, whether this was a series of explosions, whether it was fireworks, we just don't know at this point. Certainly we heard the explosion. Certainly President Trump is bleeding from his ear. He is injured, okay? That is, as Jack said, a major lapse in Secret Service protection. And I love the guys that work Secret Service. They're amazing. But this cannot happen. And as I mentioned, it has been my utmost fear that they would try to take President Trump out this way. Now, let me say something else about the reaction after this unfolded and going into the 5-10 minutes since it happened. I don't see the heightened sense of urgency that you normally see at a mass shooting. And remember, I was a mainstream general assignment reporter. I worked at local TV stations across the country. And I've been at events like this where the heightened sense of urgency is palpable. When you see people sitting around after, not being whisked out, not evacuated, something is off here. I don't know what is off. I don't know what has happened. My ultimate sense, Miranda, I know I hear you there. My ultimate sense is that we just don't know. Clearly he's injured. I do think he's going to be okay with the fist bump. But the lack of that sense of urgency after the series of small explosions, to me, it sounded like fireworks. It did not sound like gunshots. But I'm listening to it over the TV and Twitter. And for everybody that doesn't know, I've been around firearms a long time. I worked for the NRA. I train with police departments. I'm certified in basic SWAT, and I'm certified in advanced patrol tactics. By no means do I have the experience of a police officer, but this is not just a layman's view either. Something is off here. I just don't know, Miranda, what it is. But I'm praying for the president with everything I have, because when I see blood behind the president's ear and I see him go down the way he did and as shooken up as he was, Miranda, that is a frightening scene to watch unfold.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there are so many questions and there are answers right now, and we don't want to get ahead of things. We want the facts to be laid out for us. We are merely speculating right now, but I think you're right when you say, I mean, we can all agree that there was a security lapse. That's a given right now, granted, as what has happened to the president, which, again, we still don't know exactly. We just know that he was whisked off. But you're right. It did strike me as well that there were some people not in a panic and some people just being allowed to go. And I would think, you know, if the president had just been, if there was an attempted assassination on President Trump's life, that there were gunshots and that he wasn't the only one being injured, that you would secure the scene and everybody would remain in place. But maybe I'm wrong.
So the other aspect of this, if it's not gunshots, if it's not somehow small explosives, could it have been something electrical on the stage? We don't know. That something happened there because, Miranda, I will tell you, when you have a former president, soon to be the new president. I've watched President Trump's motorcades. I've been, as you have, at Mar-a-Lago when he comes and goes and events where he comes. They are treating him as the next president of the United States, this Secret Service. To not secure the entire grounds as a crime scene now, not stop everyone from coming and going because you don't know who could be part of this or not part of this. Every single person there would need to be questioned from a law enforcement perspective. To me, that seems like something that would be out of the ordinary. Those people in there needed to either be evacuated if it was an active threat, or they needed to be secured and talked to, and evidence needed to be collected of what people had on phones. Names and numbers needed to be collected. People needed to be talked to. This is a crime scene, and I don't see that happening there from what I was looking at least from our vantage point with the Real America's Voice cameras.
I think you're 100% correct. That's what struck me right away. Like, wait a minute, you know, we don't know if anyone's in custody. There were witnesses there. Why are you trying to rush everybody out the way if there's possibly still a threat? Because again, the reports are, and you know, we were hearing it. I'm not a gun expert as much as you are, and you say it yourself. Like, I'm not an investigator. Again, we're just people that have been reporters who've been on the ground. We've seen this sadly play out, maybe not like this, but this seems odd. It seems off, like you just said, that they would want to secure the area. They'd want to question people. Again, they have Secret Service out there for hours. If we're the media and we're covering this, we have to be checked. Our bags have to be checked. Everything goes through security. Not once, but multiple times. And so if something like this were to happen, it does raise some serious questions. But I know Jack Posobiec brought that up. He said that this wasn't a safe place to be at anyway.
I do believe that it would be very difficult to get a firearm into an event like this. Not impossible, but difficult. The rate of speed that the shots were fired, it sounded like small caliber fire. If we have anybody at the crew back in the studio can find this video of when President Trump originally goes down, if there's any way we have the ability to play it and let me listen to it again, because I've only gotten to hear it one time since I've come on air.
We don't have the sound. We don't have the sound yet. We do have the video. I'm being told we also have Jack Posobiec, again, host of Human Events. For people just tuning in, Grant Stenchfeld, obviously with Stenchfeld tonight, tuning in. Brian Glenn, I'm sure, has been possibly asked to leave. I think right now we're going to try to get back in touch with them. But again, if you're just tuning in, I want to play that video, and then I want both of you gentlemen to kind of chime in there. But if you're just tuning in, okay, they're going to get that video. Again, we know that what appeared to be shots were fired as President Trump took to the stage just a few minutes into his speech. This was in Butler, Pennsylvania. And as he was doing that, he appeared to be struck in the neck, ear area. You can't really see, but this was on the right side of his face. There you saw it on your screen. You saw several people in the back come down. They're looking left, they're looking right. The Secret Service went on top. We don't know. But Jack, if
Miranda,
you're just tuning in, I want to get your thoughts on what Grant had to say. We don't have the sound, but Grant's not even 100% sure that it was gunfire. What are your thoughts on that? Again, I can't hear it, but what are your thoughts? Do we have Jack Posobiec? Okay, we're going to try to get back in touch with Jack Posobiec here coming up, but we now have John Solomon, host of Just the News, No Noise, joining us on the phone. We were just playing the video. We didn't have sound of it.
Miranda, can I make a comment?
Yeah, please.
Miranda, I want to point this out to people. If you roll this back and you watch President Trump as he gets hit with something, we don't know whether it's gunfire or not. And maybe you can roll it over the screen as we talk here. I want you to watch the people's reaction behind him. It appears the shots come from the left of your screen, President Trump's right. There's not a lot of people except maybe one gentleman looking to the left of as you're looking on the screen. If there were gunfire coming from that direction, you would think you'd have everybody focused there. You have people looking all over the place as if they're confused. Something is not adding up here. That's all I want to say. And I want to be very careful about saying this was gunshots before we know for sure whether or not it was gunshots. Clearly, President Trump is injured. Clearly, something happened here. Clearly, our prayers are with him. But again, it's interesting to watch their reaction to all of this as well, that they're not running. Typically, what we would see in a shooting event like this, you would have people fleeing and freaking out. Not a great move to freak out, by the way, but it's just a lot of it is not adding up to me at all, Miranda.
Yeah,
I know you said that John
confusing.
Solomon was with us.
No, and I do want to bring John Solomon on in the conversation as well. Again, host of Just the News, No Noise. But I just heard that we had Brian Glenn, and Brian Glenn was on the ground, so maybe he could describe the sound that he heard. Brian, I know they're probably asking you to move, and they've been telling people to kind of move away. It looked like it was almost completely emptied out, which again, going to Grant's point, seems a little odd if you're concerned about security, that you'd want to make sure you talk to everybody, make sure they're not a threat, get witness accounts. But that doesn't seem to be the case. Can you describe what people there are telling you? And again, the sound, what you heard when that moment happened?
Okay. Well, I agree with Grant. I think it's irresponsible to just say that was multiple shots fired. It appeared to sound like shots. Now, how many shots were from perhaps a sniper rifle that apparently, from what we understand, I cannot get this confirmed, but I've heard that a sniper from the team inside this perimeter shot someone on the outside of the perimeter that might have been a threat to the president. So did we hear that shot? Did we hear shots on the ground? I don't know. But it was such a chaotic moment that you saw people from the risers drop to the ground. We had Blake, better known as Brick Suit, on right before we were asked to leave. Now, by the way, the Secret Service literally walked on the riser and was cutting people's feet, saying, "We're done. We're done. We don't have time for one more hit. We're done." And they have kicked everybody out, as they should. They would have cleared the perimeter. We left our gear there. I'm doing this from my cell phone. You've got people walking out right now in disbelief. Just real quickly, we're live on the air right now. Where were you at the time of this?
3 rows back on the left side. I actually videoed a lot of it.
Okay, so in your opinion, what was the scene like around you?
So, Brian, we can't hear, but we're going to need you to relay
I'm going
it.
to pause you. Yeah, okay. So basically, they thought it was firecrackers as well, and so they basically at that point. Didn't know what to think because it was so chaotic. Guys, this is something that an assassination attempt on the president has not. This is exactly what it was, and or appears to have been. The good news is that we did see President Trump raise his fist and said fight, which we have heard that too. So that is nice that he is okay. But this changes.
But have we
election.
confirmed that? Yeah, a couple things though. Has anyone there confirmed with you whether or not? I mean, this seems like someone should be able to confirm whether or not shots were fired, if someone's in custody, and how the president's doing. Can anybody there with the Trump campaign confirm any of that?
Well, no, I have sent messages, but I have not gotten anything back from that at all. So. Yeah, go ahead, Grant.
This would somewhat explain what Brian is talking about, that if someone was outside the perimeter of this, trying to take a shot, presumably a sniper who was possibly taken out by another sniper, if Brian, what the information you're getting is correct, this would explain why people inside wouldn't know where the shots were coming from. Miranda, remember I mentioned it was very odd to me that no one seemed to know where the shots were coming from or where the explosion was coming from other than hearing these shots fired. That would make sense. It would be interesting also to see outside the perimeter what event is taking place with police and the intensity of those police and where are they swarming to, because that'll help answer some questions, but it's very tough. Brian, are you locked down? Are you out of the perimeter? Did they lock down the perimeter? What has happened now?
Yes.
Before you answer that, Brian, real quickly, I just received word. I just want to say this for our audience that are desperately wanting to know, like we are. It has been confirmed that President Trump is okay. What that means, we don't know. But I just want to let that know for people that are tuning in that have just watched this footage and are waiting to hear word. Go ahead, Brian.
Okay, flip the camera around real quickly, Luke. Okay, so people are leaving, all right? So it is an active crime scene. That's why they had everyone in the rally area to leave immediately. That's media, that's supporters. Everyone's on their way out, so which is a good thing. I guess this is protocol. We've seen some helicopter action here in the last 20 minutes as well. To go back to explaining the amount of shots, potential shots, if in fact, and we've said this before, I've done a lot of open field rallies. I've done more. I've done rallies that had a little bit more exposed, to be honest with you. This was, I think, a little bit on the safer side. So I can't say that this one was extra, added any type of extra problems to it. But it does make sense, guys. We did get a confirmation that there was possibly one fatality. And I would imagine it could be in the area where this shots came from the outside. So maybe in the process of those shots going towards the president, one or many of those shots fired might have hit somebody there in the stands. That would completely explain geographically where these people were laying on the bleachers, just to the right of the podium. If you're the president, to the right, we saw several people on the ground there that needed assistance to get out of there, which would explain that's the direction that shots would have come from. So, there's so many unanswered questions right now. But the best news that you just released is that the president is okay. I don't have any confirmation that he's going to a local hospital. I don't have any confirmation on that.
Yeah.
I don't have a confirmation on the people that might have been injured by this as well. I don't know where they're at, but we're going to try and find out as much as we can.
We're going to let you do that. I know you're still trying to get more questions on the ground. I know, and you need to take a deep breath.
Well, let me say something real quickly. I've seen a lot of emotional people come up, walking out, people crying, people that this is what we feared the most. And I think you guys talked about it, is a threat to his life.
Yeah. Yes, we have for a long time.
We lose
so,
Brian right there.
Brian, we're going to let you take a break right now. Yeah.
I think Brian cut out for one moment, but I'm going to tell you what I saw from President Trump when he got up, clearly concerned about what just happened to him. With the look on his face, I saw nearly the same look when he came out of one of the courtrooms for the first time, and he had this look of resolve and that he meant business. He had that look in his eye that I have seen from President Trump on a few occasions, and he had blood on his face. This looked like a fighter, that nothing is going to stop this man. And if you think this was going to stop him and he comes out of this okay, which I think we're pretty much expecting him to come out of this okay, everything I'm hearing seems to be like President Trump will be okay.
Anticipate to be streaming or going live right now, but oh my goodness, we have never lived through a moment like this. The last attempted presidential assassination was Ronald Reagan. And here we are. Let's go through the facts. President Donald Trump had a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. It seemed as if it was going to be just another rally, as if we've always seen, tens of thousands of people. Donald Trump was going through charts and graphs and saying this chart right here, and he had his ear just a certain way, and then you could hear the gunshots, 1, 2, 3, 4. Based on all public reports, Donald Trump was grazed by a bullet as a bullet hit his ear and scathed the side of his face. He was defiant. We're getting all these tapes here. Ryan is loading up. By the way, the team has just run in here. This is something that we have been fearing.
Wow. We want to also bring in one of our other colleagues, and that is Charlie
There's
Kirk.
that picture.
Trump being grazed by a bullet. They tried to kill him, Donald Trump. And for some people on the left right now, they are going to be sad that it wasn't successful. They have been calling for quite some time. This is a live and developing situation. We're going to get Blake in the chair here. This happened at Butler, Pennsylvania. Donald Trump is alive. Blake, what is going on here? We've never lived through anything like this. We have been saying this. I said very clearly, they're going to try to kill Trump. It was inches away from going into his brain and killing the former president. CNN is covering this like, oh, it's an incident. This was an attempted assassination. They tried to lock him up. They tried to bankrupt his business empire. This is all they had left, and it was millimeters away from killing him. Blake, what are you reading and seeing?
Literally millimeters. So there's this thing they would talk about, Charlie, called stochastic terrorism. They would say this against Trump. They would say he's egging on random acts of violence. And then what did we hear for the past really 9-10 years at this point? We've been hearing Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. Donald Trump is Hitler. Donald Trump is a would-be dictator. Donald Trump is the worst human being to ever live and will destroy everything if he's allowed to become president. They know it's a lie because he's been president before, and that didn't happen. But they kept telling the lie over and over and over and over again. And when you do that, you are egging on mentally unstable and extreme and wild people to do things like this. But to quote Marco Rubio, they knew what they were doing.
Let's see it for ourselves. This is cut 3. I don't know if we're going to violate any YouTube guidelines here. I would imagine there's an exception here for an attempted assassination of a former president. They tried to silence him. They tried to jail him. And now they've tried to kill him. Play cut 3.
And then the worst president in the history of our country took over. And look what happened to our country. Probably 20 million people. And, you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Mikey? Blake, I mean, that is right there. He goes immediately. I feel like I'm watching a Zapruder film. Blake, I feel like I'm watching a Zapruder film. This would have been JFK. Everybody, you're going to remember right where you were, what you were doing, where Donald Trump was millimeters away from being killed. Blake, it's hard to even put this into words. What is going on here, Blake?
It's one of those surreal moments where time slows down. I was out at an event here in Phoenix, and I first get it where someone just says shots fired. I see it on my phone, shots fired at Trump rally. And I open up, this had to be seconds after it happened. And then someone saying, I think he was hit. And I mean, I think I probably texted you within the minute, and then I'm sure everyone else did a minute after that. Everything slows down. It crystallizes in your mind. It's one of the most unbelievable things we've ever seen. And then the imagery of it, the first image of Trump being hit, but then the immediate image after that of him actually standing back up and putting a fist to the crowd, and the presence to do that under a situation of such enormous stress where you literally nearly died
by a bullet.
He was hit, and he did that within a minute. I've never seen anything like it, and nothing like